Okay, good morning class. Good morning to all of you. Welcome Jerry Lee and Micaela. Ayan, I just came from outside. We have some, after my class at Solid Geometry, I have a client call outside. So how are you today? Okay, welcome Jerry Lee. Are you ready later? So we'll have our first presentation today for our week number 4 as scheduled. So, but my task now is to introduce module 2, which is supposedly assigned to Gillian, but Gillian will be part of our CTP class tomorrow. So, sige, let's open first in a word of prayer. Father in heaven, we thank you for this day. Thank you for this opportunity that we could continue on our discussion for EDU115. I pray, Lord, that you will continually guide us, provide us this mindset, a Christian mindset, where we could teach our student, and utilizing all of these principles, Lord. The learner's principles, the psychological principles that we could apply to our classroom. Help us, Lord, by your grace, that we may have the right skills, the right attitude, and right heart, so as to approach our student, and that they will learn, that we may be as teacher becoming facilitators of learners, not just the source of information. We thank you and continually guide us throughout the day. This is our prayer in Christ's name. Amen. Welcome. Okay. So how are you, Jerry Lee?
Okay lang naman po, sir. Salamat po.
Sige. So let me start first. So far, for our class, so parang tatlo na lang tayo, di ba? So Emma is with us, Jerry Lee and Micaela, because Aisel and Gillian will be out. So I'm planning to for every seminars, there are certificates of recognition for the speaker. I will apply this also to the CTP class. And I will also give it to you. Though I'm still coordinating whether the signatory for that certificate will be the professor, or perhaps I could ask the office if they could provide signatures for perhaps ano bang official designation ni Ma'am Christine? Micaela? Or Sir Job? Sir Job is the dean, no? Am I right? Dean of the college. Okay. Sure. So, pero the one that is in charge us is Ma'am Christine the Bised, no? So I will coordinate with the office because I would like in a way para mayroon kayong portfolio pag when you graduate. So you will have a series of certificates. Even the one that I'll be lecturing, I'll be providing certificate for you. No? So every time kasi marami sa CTV, mas maraming mga i-report doon, presentation. So more certificates. So I'm thinking even my own presentation here on our class, I'll be providing a certificate. Though I have not yet created a template, no? Parang si Ma'am Emma, meron siyang ano, no? Meron ba siyang parang nag-excuse siya last time, eh. I cannot recall if Ma'am Emma would have an activity or not so sure, but parang meron. So yun yung gagawin natin. So each time that there are presentations, so there will be one given as a certificate of recognition for the speaker. And then there are those that participate. So in this case, only Micaela that will have a certificate of participation. Saglit ah. Guys, I need to be excused for the meantime lang. Saglit lang guys. Okay, I'm back. Woo. So let's continue guys, no? So okay ba 'yon? Gusto niyo ba magkaroon ng certificate? What can you say, Jerry Lee?
Maganda po yun, sir.
Para may
Yung
portfolio kayo, kasi pag graduate kayo, back to zero kayo eh. Oh. So kung meron kayong portfolio, maganda 'yon. Pwede niyong ilagay sa resume niyo. Anyway, talagang actual class na may seminar. And then ako naman yung pipirma dyan. And then maghahanap tayo ng ibang signatories na pwede. Perhaps some officials of Bethany. So, ngayon lang week na to nagpop up sa akin. So, every time, para meron kayong may iwan. No? So, pwede nyong gamitin initial portfolio yan. Kasi eventually, you'll be joining organizations, professional groups. Jerry Lee, nakakalimutan ko eh, BSED ka ba or BN?
BSED po, sir.
BSED, major in English language.
Yes po.
Kasi si Micaela, ito, math major to eh. So yun, no? So magandang initial portfolio yan. So yan, anyway, I could always share this to our classroom, the PDF files, at kayo na lang mag-print. Yan, pwede nang i-print siya. Printable na siya. So isa-size ko siya ng buong bond paper. So pwede nyo i-print ng parchment paper yan or whatever. No? So anyway, I will still negotiate who among the officials of Bethany could be my co-signatory of that seminars. No? So yun yung ano ko. At the same time, ito pa, may hindi ako nabanggit sa inyo last time eh. The speakers will be evaluated. Kaya lang ang iisa. So si Micaela lang mag-i-evaluate kay Jerry Lee. So, pero maganda rin itong learning opportunity for you. No, kasi I base this from professional presentation. Though hindi ko pa siya nagagawang forms, it may come up later. Masyado hectic lang talaga schedule ko. I have many things to do. Aside from Bethany, I'm conducting I have 2 onlines for our church. One is a morning devotion a while ago. I started my day 6 o'clock. Of course, the preparation's a lot earlier. And then we have a synchronous Bible reading. So I also broadcast the readings. So our target is within 52 weeks, we'll be finishing the scriptures. So that's our target of the church. No? So I'm also broadcasting live the broadcast. And from time to time, we have courses in Bethany. A while ago, I have my plane and solid geometry class. No? So medyo intersecting siya. No? So nanghihinayang kasi ako sa estudyante pag hindi ko na-meet ng more than 2 hours ang estudyante o yung class. Dapat bitin kasi, lalo na nung experience namin sa inyo Micaela, no? 1.5 and then the other half. Parang medyo bitin. Bitin on my part to impart more things. No? At yung mga natira na lang na hours or minutes, yan na lang yung intended for asynchronous. Ito, just for our awareness, Jerry Lee and Micaela, but more directly for sooner or later, maybe after today or tomorrow early morning. So, siyempre, isa lang evaluator mo, Jerry Lee, si Micaela, siya lang ang present ngayon. So, yan. Hindi ko pa siya naayos eh. Actually, I'm still on a drop. Sorry, because of my busy schedule. I was not able to, though madali na siya, copy-paste na lang siya sa form. So ito yung conceptualization natin ng topic. No, at least mapapine-tune ka rin Jerry Lee ngayon. At least you'll be directed once you presented what's your presentation? Module 4, no?
Opo, sir.
Okay, so at least mag-gears toward on this direction. No, at least, pero ito, kahit wala itong evaluation na to, dapat makita pa rin yan. No, yun na pinapauna ko lang sa inyo para at least yung mga next presenters, susunod na si Ma'am Emma next week. Hopefully he will be around. And then Micaela, you're the last, no, for the period, for the prelim period. So at least may idea na kayo. Ngayon lang kasi nagpapa, kasi yung certificate nauna ko naisip, dapat may evaluation. Ito, ibibigay ko lang to doon sa speaker. So nasa inyo na yung, wala siyang bearing doon, walang direct bearing sa grades nyo sa akin, performance. But it's more on your self-assessment. No? Maganda sana kung marami kayo eh. No, pero okay din, honest to goodness evaluation would be okay, no, for your self-improvement as far as presentation is concerned. Huwag kayong masyadong galante kasi yung iba, porque sige, perfect mo ko, ipi-perfect kita sa evaluation. So ganun yung nangyari. So it must be an honest to goodness evaluation. Maganda sana kung large group tayo, katulad bukas. So CTP class ko, I have 13 students, no, 3 coming from this class and 10 from the CTP class. So at least maganda yung combination ng mga evaluations doon. Okay, as you can see here, nasa WordPad ko pa nga lang to i-ano ko lang guys para medyo malaki-laki yung visualization natin. Okay, will be evaluated in a scale of 1 to 5. First one is excellent. Sabi ko nga, very, very, ito pa yung drop ko kagabi, no? Hindi ko lang, at least ma-inform din ko kayo, no? So, but the evaluation will be this afternoon or pag na-upload ko na yung form. Parang ano na rin to, practice na rin kasi eventually you'll join professional groups. Ayan. So, excellent would be 5. So, usefulness of the topic. So, 5. And then, very good, 4. Then, good, 3. So, scale of 1 to 5 to. And then, 4. Siguro naman walang 4, no? And then, how will you measure the usefulness of the topics? You have areas here. No, you could make use of the explanation of the topic. The manner of explanation is very important of the topic itself that is assigned to you. Secondly, is the topic relevant to support my learning? So yung relevance niya, putting your shoe to your audience or your listeners, very important. So yung relevance niya. Of course, this is very relevant because we're dealing here with aspects of learning, no? Particularly the learner-centered teaching, which is an methodology that is new to us because we have been used to paradigm or an old paradigm of teaching, which is traditional, which is sabi ko nga, the sage on the stage. We should not be a sage on the stage, but we should be a guide on the side. Yan, yung rhyme palaging nababanggit ko, no? Anyway, so relevance to the support. So you'll be evaluating 1 to 5 also. I'll be creating a form out of this. And then effectiveness of visual aids. Siguro ikaw din, yung speaker din for the purpose of self-evaluation, no? Jerry Lee, no? Yung evaluate nyo rin ang sarili nyo. Now, whenever you report, you evaluate yourself. And then there are peer evaluation. And of course, I have my evaluation too. So, dapat yan, cross-reference yan. Magko-cross-reference yung... Pero yung result mismo ng evaluation will not directly affect your performance here. It's just for self-improvement purposes. Yun ang layunin natin dito. No? Self-improvement purposes. For each one of you, you'll become teachers, you'll become speakers, you'll become resource speakers of on your specialization depending on how what will be your specialization after you graduate, and then taking up your master's or doctorate degree perhaps, no, or practicing on a special field. So you'll be encountering invitations from your peers, from the school or the professional org. No, and this invitation will be inevitable for educators like you. Sooner or later, you'll be invited to speak, no? And perhaps this would be a guideline for each one of us. Okay? Okay ba yan, guys?
Yes, sir.
Oo. So itong template na to, kahit copy-paste na rin to afterwards, walang problema. So pwede nyong gamitin din yan. Sooner or later, kayo, halimbawa, kung kayo naman magtuturo ng subject na to, EDU115, so may use this strategy as well. And of course, yung visual aids, so hindi lang yung slide, yung mismong presenter, is the presenter itself is supposedly the visual. No, yun yung main visual, yung speaker, yung resource speaker. No, actually, supplement lang yung slide. Pero a perfect combination would be appropriate as well. Okay, so a perfect combination for visual aids, no? And then allocation of time, you're allocated minimum 45 minutes to 1.5 hours. No, kasi we could maximize the time because some of your students were transferred to our CTP class. And relevance of the seminar to my, this time, not yet work, but kasi more evaluation ko to sa professional, no? To my potential workplace siguro. So, hindi ko pa siya masyadong na-edit. Workplace, ED school, or perhaps church ministry, ministries, no, etc. It could be Sunday school or other things. Okay, so those are the categories under the usefulness of the topic. Now, same will be applied to the second part, which is the resource speaker itself. It will be also evaluated. Now, not only that topic that is useful, but also the resource speaker. So in terms of 1 to 5 again, now we could see here showed mastery of the subject. So you're really an expert, no? Or perhaps you have studied well on the topic. And then secondly, you have a well-organized, prepared, clear presentation. So every point is clear, well explained, no? Elaborated. No? So those are the things. Establish good rapport, relationship with participants. So you could always interact. No? The speaker could interact with the participant. In this case, Micaela is the one interacting the presenter. Ako naman, from time to time, I could butt in. No? So I'm just playing here as a moderator of the presenter. Encourage questions to be discussed. Okay, so yan yun. Encourage questions to discuss. And then what else? Responded well to all questions and clarifications. So that's what we need as a resource speaker. And then we have give a smooth wrap-up or summary or at the close of the seminar. So you should have a good ending, an interesting a spark plug on your entry. At the same time, you need to close it as well. So with a smooth wrap-up, perhaps at the moment of your of the airplane that is flying, and then the moment of its landing as well. So pareho yan na dapat i-consider din na speaker. Ayan. And then of course the administration, the course, the platform that we're using. Ito naman for the sense of my improvement on using this platform venue. No, meaning of course this is not referring to the physical venue but the platform itself. No, how will you evaluate? No, is this efficient way of online presentation, or perhaps there are other ways? How about the facility? We're not referring here to the physical facility yet because we're not on a face-to-face mode. However, all of the facilities regarding our communication, etc. And then attitude, no? But during the seminar, there are since may mga kasama tayo dyan, but this could be optional, no? Ang staff and personnel dito, tayo yon. Yung attitude toward the seminar. You could always evaluate that. And then you will have a summary. This time, you will evaluate the overall rating of the seminar. Whether the seminar is excellent, very good, good, fair, or poor. All right? And then, number 2, under the summary is comments to the resource speaker. Of course, to encourage not engineers but young educators. Because I got this from a professional engineering forum, young educators. Or ayan, so pre-service. Or perhaps sige, wag na ilagay ang comments on the resource speaker. So which is also essential for encouragement, points of improvement, or perhaps other things that positive reinforcements as far as the presentation is concerned. All right? So yun yung content ng form. I-upload ko pa lang to later or perhaps tomorrow. Isasabay ko na doon sa CTP class. Now, there will be one form per speaker per week. Okay, so perhaps week number 4 speaker, so si Jerry Leon, week number 5, si Ma'am Emma, and then week number 6, si Micaela. So each one of you will have a separate form. Of course, this case, si Micaela lang ang pwedeng mag-evaluate. At for the case of Jerry Lee, your self-evaluation also is very important. So I'll be requiring evaluation also for the speaker in terms of self-evaluation. Alright? So yun yung, so sooner or later, I'll be uploading this form. Okay? Do you have some clarification?
Wala naman po.
Okay ba? So is this something new or you have experienced this before? Who have joined already seminars outside Bethany? Jerry Lee, have had an experience joining seminars outside Bethany, or perhaps inside Bethany if there are seminars here, perhaps part of the project of our student government. Sino bang student bodies representative sa inyo?
Ako po, sir, part po ako ng student.
Ng government.
Opo. Yes,
Anong role mo doon?
Po, secretary po.
You're the secretary of the entire student body, no?
Yes, sir.
Wow, congratulations. Hindi ko kasi alam yung listahan. Ikaw ba, Micaela, part ka ng student body?
Hindi po, sir.
Hindi. But sino ba yung representative ng BISED sa atin? Or general siya, hindi siya categorized to majorship. Basta representative ng BISED, ng ABM, BEd. No, anyway, 3 course 'yan. No, dapat kada course may representative, no? Tama?
Opo, sir, sa po,
Jerry Lee.
Yung alam ko po representative si Kuya Howell po.
Si Howell. Naging estudyante ko siya sa EDU115, no? Before, 3 semesters ago. Si John Howell. So, sige, yun yung the potential projects for the student, no? Seminars, kasi wala tayong masyadong physical pa ngayon. So, yung mga physical activity, hindi pa muna yan. So, yan, you could conduct online seminars, online trainings. No, yan nga, sabi ko nga sa mga math major, turuan ng MATLAB or Octave yung mga non-math teachers eh. Di ba, Micaela? No, kahit mag-add, subtract, divide, arithmetic operations, mga ganon. So, pwede kayong mag-seminar dyan. Alright, so sige. So, I'll be looking now on briefly on module 2. So, later na to guys, i-convert ko pa siya sa HTML para maging forms. Do set na siya eh. Wala lang, kinapos ako ng oras guys. Lalo na pag transition ng Thursday, Friday, medyo hectic. No, yesterday, I lead our prayer gathering midweek service of the church. So, medyo mabigat. Most of you are conducting every Wednesday, no? Tama ba, Micaela? Where's your prayer meeting? When?
Sa church po namin, tuwing Thursday po. Pero pag Wednesdays po, ang schedule ko po is Bible study ko po. With
Bible study group. So, kahapon din yung prayer meeting.
Opo, sa church po.
Sa church. How about you, Jerry Lee?
Wednesday po, sir.
Sa Wednesday. Ano bang church nyo? Anong pangalan ng church?
Sa po, Blessed Son of Man Bible Baptist Church po.
Saang lugar yan?
Sa Bacoor po, sir.
Bacoor.
Opo.
Na-disconnect tayo guys. Can you still hear me?
Yes, sir.
Is my ear? Okay, medyo na-disconnect ako. So, from time to time, I'm, kay Pastor Marasigan sa Sanctuary. I don't know if you know Pastor Marasigan sa church. Yan. Yung pinupuntahan namin sa Bacoor. Bacoor din yun. Sanctuary Bible Baptist Church. Yan. So, I don't know if it's co-located. Kasi marami ring churches dyan, no? Tama? Sa Bacoor.
Opo, sir.
Marami. Mga fellowship of pastors yan, mga taga Cavite. Alright. So, sige. So, I hope, ano ba yung, alam ko may important na lakad si Ma'am Emma eh. Parang may pupuntahan siyang mission. Hindi ko na maalala. Pero alam ko nagpaalam siya. Sabi niya, kung magka-catch up. Sabi ko, kung hindi kaya, pwede namang yung recorded session na lang yung niya. So far, ito lang, tutuloy ko lang yung yung lesson natin about Module 2, this regarding learner-centered psychological principle. There are 14 principles mentioned, and each are categorized into 4. These principles are categorized into 4. Primarily, we have cognitive and metacognitive. So these are mental faculties. Mahalaga yan sa mga learner, yung kanilang kakayahan na mag-isip. No? Kaya nga some schools may have aptitude tests, entrance tests. Ngayon ba may NSAT pa rin? Micaela, wala na?
Saan po yun, sir?
Hindi mo alam. So wala na. That's National Secondary Aptitude Test. This is, during my time, I'm a transition of NCEE, National College Entrance Examination, NCEE. Pag hindi ka nakapasa ng NCEE, hindi ka pwede mag-college. So lahat yun. Aside dun sa mga entrance test ng bawat colleges, dapat nung panahon yata ni Marcos may bumagsak niyang anak, di ko alam kung sino. O chismis lang yun. Binuwag yan, ginawang NSAT. Ngayon yung NSAT naman, hindi na siya, it's not anymore a prerequisite to college. However, NSAT will be part of your grading system. It will be treated as fifth quarter, or fifth period. Di ba may 4 periods ka, may panlimang period, yun yung NSAT. So pag bumaba ka sa NSAT, hatake niya lahat yung grades mo from first, second, third, fourth quarter. Ganun yung time namin. Hindi ko alam ngayon. Baka wala na, no? Wala na. No? So ang point talaga doon, ma-measure din yung aptitude, no? Concerning of course the cognitive, metacognitive aspects of a student, their affective emotional readiness as far as college life is concerned, and also the necessary skills. So yun yung sukatan nun, no? Kapag bumagsak ka dyan, parang hindi ka pang college. Okay, kaya dati nung pribilehiyo yung magkolehiyo dahil pag wala kang NCE, bagsak ka, hindi ka makakapagkolehiyo. I-google nyo, maluma na yan. Ngayon yung nagka-transition sa NCE NSAT, hindi na siya required. It becomes part of the computation of your academic performance in the high school. Para siyang idinagdag na fifth grading period. Sa halip na 4 grading periods lang, nagkaroon ng panlima. Ibig sabihin, magiging 20% siya ng grade mo, ng buong mong performance. So that's during our time. But after I graduated from high school and college, I don't know what happened. Kasi may sa LM may NEET, di ba, Micaela? NEET, National Elementary Aptitude Test, something like that, NEET. Tama ba, Jerry Lee? Are you aware of that? Kung may mga ano kayo, kapatid na mas bata sa inyo, nag-take ba sila ng NEET? Before exiting LM?
Parang di po ako familiar po, sir.
Hindi familiar. Mga bata nga kayo. At ako'y napakatanda na para may discrepancy sa information. Ang point dyan, masyado na ako matanda. Siguro hindi na ako na-update dun sa mga pagbabago. So ang point dyan, masukat yung aptitude ng, for the case of secondary or high school student, their readiness for college. For the sake of the LM entering high school, the readiness for high school. And for the sake of those undergraduate that will enter to the graduate school, there is also an aptitude test given by universities if they are really ready for graduate studies. So ganun siya, no? So mahalaga 'yon, no? Mahalaga yung bagay na 'yan, yung cognitive aspect of learning, no? Lalo na yung mga psychological principles na ito, napakahalaga niyan. Kasi nga, how will yung design ng though you already have a tentative design as far as your lesson is concerned, pero that will still depend on the outlook of your student. No, impact how they will respond. Kaya nga minsan meron tayong pre-test na tinatawag, no, mga pre-test wherein diagnostic test to, Ang point ay we diagnose if there are diseases among the student. Ibig sabihin ng diagnostic, dinadiagnose mo baka may flaws, may mga areas of concern, may mga areas that need some emphasis preparatory to your subject matter. So that's you already have your assessment and evaluation. Generally. Grade 8, nag-assessment ng grade 6, grade 8, saka grade 10. Iba lang ang pangalan, okay? Baka iba nga lang ang pangalan. Noted, noted Micaela. No, baka iba nga lang ang pangalan. So siguro nga, tama. Anyway, bisitahin ko lang guys yung yung ating YouTube channel. So yan yung may diyan. Pangalawa, emotional ineffective, no? So mahalaga yung emotion, no? There must be a balance of emotion, the affection, no, in the holistic development. Kasi we're looking here, this psychological principle is grounded upon the holistic development of learners. No, yung holistic, so that they may be able to be ready toward the 21st century skill sets. Now, and what are those 21st century skill sets? Of course, we have the creative thinking, critical thinking. What else? What are the forces? Communication. It's very important. Be able to communicate your ideas. And what else? Using technology. Now, there's also the usage of computer as the last aspect of this 21st century skills that the students need to have, or at least need a preparatory skill set that will be applied to their higher learning, no? Kasi lalo na ngayon nandito tayo sa yugto na kung saan ang teknolohiya ang ating ginagamit sa pag-aaral, no? Kailangan makaroon ng adaptation, no? There must be the students will be able to adapt whatever prevalent technologies for their learning as well. So ayan, makikita natin doon yung cognitive, metacognitive, as well as the motivation to learn, and then the affective, the emotions, the attitude, mindset, yung pag-uugali, no? Minsan kasi problema, matalino ang bata, may problema sa pag-uugali. So kailangan i-deal din yan. We must deal with that issue of attitude, no? Affective. And then we have also the developmental and social. This aspect pertains to our connection, the manner that we interact with the environment, the manner that we communicate ideas to other people, and how we could contribute to the growth not only of the individual, but to the society or the context of the community in general. For the case of the student is the school community. And to be more on a micro view, it's on your classroom. And perhaps a smaller view perhaps is your peers, your group mates, or perhaps table mates in the classroom. Kasi nung grade 4 ako, meron kaming science teacher. Every time na magpapaquiz, rinarango niya. So yung isang table ay may 6 na nakaupo. So yung top 6, siya ang mauupo doon sa table number 1 o yung excellent table. Meron siyang pangalan doon. And then yung table number 2, yung pangalawang grupo, no? So every time we do have some rotation, nagkakaroon ng interaction, no? There must be group work, teamwork, collaborative effort, no? As early as elementary, it should be developed as well. No, yung teamwork, collaborative effort, and the manner that you communicate your idea is very important. And then lastly, of course, we need to consider the individual differences factor that is inherent to every learner in terms of their inclination. Perhaps a learner is more of a numerical smart or number smart or word smart, no? Or perhaps other intelligences, no? No, depending on the inclination of the learner. So those are the factors. Sabi nga dito, The principles are intended to apply all learners, from children, teachers, administration, to parents, and to community members involved in our educational system. So all of us are part and parcel of these principles, these 14 learner-centered psychological principles that was presented on this module 2. Now, as far as cognitive and metacognitive is concerned, of course, we have done that already. So these are the composition. There are 6 principles, no, that are involved in the cognitive and metacognitive factors. These are psychological principles that we need to understand. First is the nature of the learning process. So it says here, the learning of a complex subject matter is most effective when an intentional process of constructing meaning from information and experience. As teachers, our responsibility in facilitating this information is to make this into a bitable size of information. Rather than presenting it in a more complex, bigger chunk of information, this should be presented in a bite-sized presentation, in a bite-sized information where the learner could absorb well and process well. So that's yung makikita natin dyan, no? Dito sa nature of learning process. So there are different types, no? Habit formation in motor learning, learning that involves the generation of knowledge or cognitive skills, and learning strategies. Ayan. And then we have the learning in school emphasizes the use of intentional process that student can use to construct meaning from information, experiences, and their own thoughts and beliefs. So it's also important. The proper combination is very important as far as the nature of learning process is concerned. Their own thoughts about it and their belief, no, it will affect their belief system, the information that they have learned, and there must be an intentional process. Yan yung mahalaga dyan, no? Successful learners are active, goal directed, self-regulating, and assume personal responsibility for contributing to their own learning. So lalo na sa tertiary level, we are more on independent study or independent learning compared to basic education, wherein there are processes that needs to be done in terms of guiding each and every learners. But now, since you are in college, you have already acquired this degree of independence as far as learning is concerned. So yung higher degree of independence. In fact, kahit hindi ako magturo dito, matututo kayo. Ganon ang independent learning. No? Karamihan nga ng mga honors, bachelors, no, normally nangyayari yan sa UK. No, pag sinabing bachelor's honors, pag ibig sabihin yan, wala na halos instruction. Everything will be on self-paced, self-directed learning, independent learning among the student. And most of these students who enroll in honors class are actually goal-directed. No, they're actually towards excellence. So mga excellence pupil. No? In fact, if you're part of the honors, you may be admitted directly to PhD. No, you may bypass the master's degree already. In some universities in UK, that's the case. If you're an honors class, there's already a sandwich of bachelor's and master's program on the honors class. So ganun yon, yung mga ganung bagay, because they have higher degree of independence as far as their learning is concerned. At the same time, they be able to dissect ideas. They be able to simplify complex ideas intentionally. No? So they have these strategies. Though they may be left on an independent study, no? Ay may kita natin na sila ay nagpapatuloy. And most of the honors class are exceptional students. Okay? So yun yung mga classical example natin. And then of course, we have the nature of the learning process, very important. And at the end of the day, the students are responsible in contributing to their own learning. Tatanungin natin sarili natin, ba't di ako natuto? Kasi tutulog-tulog ako kay sir. O kaya may iba akong ginagawa. May ginagawa akong kakaiba, hindi ko na-gets yung sinabi ni sir. So it's still, at the end of the day, it's the responsibility. It's a personal responsibility among the students to contribute to their own learning. Because as course specialists or instructor, we're only here to facilitate learning. We are only here to guide you and to provide you all of the necessary resources that is needed to learn the topic concerned or perhaps the entire course to contribute to your sooner or later practice of profession. So that's the wider view. That's more of a meta narrative of your program here. It's not just confined at Bethany. It will be sooner or later spread your practice to your own church and school, and eventually to the entire teaching profession in general, to the academic world, where you could contribute your own body of knowledge, your expertise on a particular area, perhaps in English language or in mathematics, whichever. Ayan. So of course, we need to have the goal of learning process. Successful learner over time with support and instructional guidance can create meaningful, coherent representations of knowledge. So yung goal of the learning process, very important. So through support, we're here to support with instructional guidance, perhaps directing the students towards a more meaningful, coherent representative of knowledge. In fact, what the students doing is approximating that body of knowledge that had been taught to you, and at the same time creating your own meaningful representation of what you have learned. So yan yung makikita natin dyan. Kasi kung wala kang replica or okay, I'm disconnected. Can you hear me?
Yes po.
Okay, na-DC ako. So may mga network issue din dito. Alright. So yun yung makikita natin dyan, yung goal. There must be the student be able, through instructional guidance and support of the facilitator, be able to have your own replica of this body of information. Kayo yung sarili nyong mismong replica. Hindi lang yung sinabi ni Sir Ed o yung sinabi ng ibang professor. Kumbaga sinabi nyo mismo at natutunan nyo ito. So sa process of learning, nagkakaroon kayo ng replica ng sarili nyong natutunan. Halimbawa, tinuruan ko si Micaela ng integration process. Yung ipapakita ni Micaela, hindi na yung method ko, yung method niya na natutunan niya sa akin. At the end of the day, he will not say this is the method of Engineer Marie. No. He will say this is the methodology that I learned in Calculus 2. So that's becoming his own. So yun yung goal, na maitawid yung information learning process from point A to B. Yan yung makikita natin dyan. And there must be a goal. This must be goal oriented. So as student, yan, dapat makita natin yung goal. Hindi tayo, kaya nga, normally on week 1, we present the entire course, the outline, and perhaps the direction, so that you will have a general idea of what will be the direction of the course, and to be specific on your topics that is assigned to you. And then meron tayong mga objectives dyan na nais na iparating sa ating mga audience as you present your own topic in mind. Okay? Teka, parang nawawala ng oras. Dapat pala si Jerry Lee na nagsasalita dito. Okay, so I have many things to mention here, And then construction of knowledge. Ayan, ito na yun. Successful learner can link new information with existing knowledge in meaningful ways. This is more of a developmental thinking. You already have your innate or your acquired knowledge. Now, as a learner, you must be able to acquire and connect this new knowledge to that existing knowledge. That is the construction of knowledge. And then next to that, strategic thinking. Successful learner can create and use repertoire of thinking and reasoning strategies to achieve complex learning goals. So from simple, now the student now could engage into more complex analysis or goal. Yan po yan. No? So nagsimula ka sa basic, then you develop into from simple to complex analysis. No, yan ang tawag din strategic thinking. You are actually thinking from applying the simple methodology, applying this to more on complex. Kasi hindi ka na magsisimula sa complex eh. Tama ba, guys? Wala ka na magsimula sa complex. Hirap ka doon. Wala kang foundation. No? So magsisimula ka muna sa simple papuntang complex. And then nagagamit yung ating strategic thinking doon. Alright? And then of course, thinking about thinking. So this is part of the metacognition. So higher order strategies of selecting, monitoring operations to facilitate creative and critical thinking. Yan, yung creative and critical thinking is also important. No? So thinking about thinking, meaning there is a higher order strategies, no, or there is a wider reason for selecting, monitoring operations, or facilitate creative and critical thinking. So yung thinking about thinking. So this more are monitoring how are we thinking, no, in connecting it to a wider picture. No, yung wider picture, napahalaga nun. And then of course, the context of learning. Okay, nasa na yung mouse ko? Okay, context of learning, of course, yung learning is influenced by environmental factors, including culture, technology, instructional practices. Yung contextualization in terms of learning in the environment, community, environmental factors, no, that could apply. Normally, ginagamit din natin yung context of learning doon sa ating pagtuturo ng Bible. If you're a Sunday school teacher, you should teach the scriptures contextually. No, context, saan natin rinelate yung scriptures doon sa historical background, so yung kanyang connection doon, and then yung culture on the moment of the writing of the scriptures could also help us on our interpretation. And then of course the entire paragraph or the textual division of the verse that we are teaching, or the set of text that we're teaching, should be related or connected to the overarching idea of the text. That's what we call context. No, yung normally ang isang context ay buong paragraph. No, yung buong paragraph na yan, at may pipreach kang couple of verses ituturo, dapat ma-connect mo doon. That's contextual learning on that case of Bible study. But for the case of our general cognitive, metacognitive principles, kinoconnect natin siya sa mga environmental factors. Okay, I would stop on this. No? So tutuloy natin yan to give way with our presentation. So I'll be continuing on the affective and motivational factors. So these 6 are cognitive and metacognitive factors as far as learner-centered psychological principles. That is the bedrock of this course. So every course that we'll be learning, or topics that we'll be learning on this course are laid down by the foundation of these 14 psychological principles. Okay? Okay, guys? Do you have some clarification before we continue? Okay. Jerry Lee, are you ready? So are you sharing something?
Yung ano po sir, yung presentation po.
Yeah, can you try alam ko may permission yan eh. Hindi ko pa natatry kasi sa iba eh. Sige nga, can you try? Doon sa lower button, you have a share screen.
Yung ano po, yung options ko po dito ay yung settings po. Tsaka yung
Ayan, nawala si ano. Jerry, let's wait. Micaela is here. Let's wait. Yan, kasi tinanggal ko na yung or, pwede sa akin i-PM yung ano. Ay, masyadong malaki. Ayoko ng ganito. Yan. So, si Micaela mo nang palakihin ko.
yung ano lang po sir, yung settings ko lang po yung local video tsaka settings po.
Yun lang ang nakalagay sa'yo.
Yes po.
Teka. Wala kang option for share screen?
Wala po sir.
Teka lang baka ako may problema. Can you PM to me your PowerPoint?
Okay.
Is it valid or pwede? Para ako na lang mag-control while you're presenting.
Okay po sir.
Sige. Ganun na lang. So wala pala. Alam ko pwede to eh. Hindi ko lang alam. Alam ko meron akong permissions lang na ibibigay sa iyo para Ayan, sige. So ako nang bahala dito. Student diversity. So that would be your topic. So ikaw na lang mag-comment sa akin kung next slide Okay lang utusan ako.
Okay po sir.
So under the individual differences Teka lang. I'm still downloading it. I-slide ko na lang dito. Yeah, medyo loading lang yung aking Pero buksan ko na Yan. They have video content or just a slide?
Slides lang po yan sir.
Okay. Kasi kung may video, I will share the Okay? Sige. Maybe you turn on your camera for assuming that we have 100 viewers here.
Yes.
So, ayan, siyempre pag nagpe-present dapat makikita ng viewer, ng audience. Ayan, teka. I-ano ko lang tong slide share para maging siya. So, i-prompt mo na lang ako next slide, So, okay lang yan.
Okay po.
Sige. Unlike sa Google Meet, pwede, Sa
Yes,
Google
sir.
Meet, may permission pala dapat. Alright, so presenting our first presenter this morning would be presenting to us a topic on student diversity. Let's welcome Miss Jerry Lee. Okay, take it away, Jerry Lee.
Yan, so good morning sir, good morning. Since wala po si Ma'am Emma, so si Ma'am Micaela Mabasa. So ayan, so today I'm going to report about student diversity, which is part of module 4, individual differences. Yan, so next slide po sir. Thank you po. And so before we start, we should first know about our learning outcomes. First, we have to identify the different factors that bring about diversity in the classroom. Second, we have to demonstrate the students, the listeners have to demonstrate a positive attitude towards diversity as an enriching element in the learning environment, and then come up with teaching strategies that consider student diversity. So I have prepared like a concept map of what we're going to discuss this morning. Yeah. First is our main topic is individual differences or student diversity, and we will also discuss about the subtopics about it, like the factors that, as what was mentioned earlier, the factors that affects, why students are diverse, and we also we're also about to discuss the benefits of diversity and how it acts as an enriching element in the classroom, and how it helps to boost the learning environment. And lastly, we will discuss about the classroom strategies that you could use for student diversity, since in the future we're going to be teachers. Sabi nga ni Sir, pre-service teachers tayo ngayon. So in the future, we're going to face different students from various cultures. Let's say sa Philippines pa lang, iba't ibang students from province, and then there are some na galing sa city. So there's really going to be like a melting pot of culture, and we have to be able to know how we're going to deal with it. Yan. Next slide. Yeah, so supposed to be we have an activity for um Ma'am Micaela and also Ma'am Emma, but since Ma'am Emma isn't around, so okay lang, we could still push through. So
kausapin mo na lang si Micaela. Ayan, sasagot yan.
yeah, so no need to talk naman. You could just chat dun po sa ating private chat. So I'll give you a few minutes to just type those information dito sa chat box natin.
Okay, go,
Ayan.
Micaela. Ayan, those are information. Ayan.
Chat ko na lang po.
Opo,
Yes,
yes.
use the private chat.
Since wala po sir si Ma'am Emma, so parang parang ako na lang din po yung kasama ni Mika dito sa activity, kasi for po to 2 or more people po sana.
Sige, go ahead. Wag niyo na ako isama kasi baka maging buried yung information. Na ako isama. Sige, kayo na lang. Good. Mag-on cam kayong dalawa. Uy. Yan, kunyari may actual on cam kayo for the purpose of an actual activity that's ongoing. Yan. O, Micaela, ikaw din. Yun, para at least ano tayo. Baka isipin ng mga audience sa YouTube, ano lang, baka sir natutulog lang yan ha. Hindi, ayan o. Buhay na buhay yung mga estudyante ko. Marami kasi tayong background viewer, though hindi lang siya nagre-reflect sa channel. Marami tayong background viewer sa YouTube. Yan. Sige. Ilang minutes, Jerry Lee?
Mga 2 minutes na lang.
2 minutes, Micaela. Yan. Actually, si Ma'am Emma, pwede rin mag-evaluate pag binasa niyo na yung recorded session. Siguro doon na lang. Pwede rin siyang mag-catch up doon siguro. Even the evaluation. Para mas marami. Sayang, tatatlo tayo, no? Magulo to bukas. Iniisip ko na bukas eh. 2 presentation bukas eh. Medyo. So hopefully it will run smooth also. May next info pa yan, next slide pa, ano? O yan na lang. Yan lang yun, Jerry.
Opo, yan lang po, sir.
Ayan lang.
Ayan.
Okay. Ayan na, nakita na natin.
Tapos si Mika. Sige po. So, and so for this activity, we're going to not really compare, pero let's just see kung ano yung similarities ng 2 students in one classroom, syempre in one class.
Of different majors.
Yes, opo. Oo nga, no, hindi ko nasama. Yan, so dun pa lang sa majors natin, we have differences, di ba? Although we're both education students, pero magkaiba ng major. So now we're going to compare yung see the difference or similarities natin. In first, syempre, we have talents and skills. So for the first student, which is syempre si Mika, she said yung kanyang talents includes writing, cooking, singing, and playing instruments. Yan. So on my part naman, diba? Daming talents. Ayan, so meron tayong similarity yung akin. Singing, singing, yun yung na-include ko dito.
Buti na lang, hindi nyo ako tatanungin. Wala akong katali-talentong tao. Sabi sa inyo, magugulo yung dataset pag sinama nyo ako. It's good thing kayo lang. Okay, continue. Go ahead. Don't mind my dalapping device that I'm...
And so, the languages or dialects that we speak, we are the same, yung sa Tagalog or Filipino and English. So, dyan tayo similar. So, I suppose na si Mika is galing lang din dito sa Luzon part kasi, Tagalog yung dialect niya. And favorite subjects, dito tayo medyo magkaiba. And favorite subjects niya is music, math, English, and science. Sabi niya, human anatomy.
Delikado yan.
Ayan, so, yung sa akin naman, English lang. And, math kasi medyo tagilid ako dyan. Okay. Then, hobbies and interest, she is an animal lover and she plays sports and watch films. Ako naman, I love reading and listening to music. So, I guess when it comes to similarities, medyo may similarities kami and Ikaw, Mika, I just want to ask kung anong comments mo based dun sa yan activity natin.
Comments? Wala naman.
Ayan, I mean, what can you say about our similarities and differences, yung parang ganun?
Ano, na we are not exactly the same. Na we
Yes.
are different in a way from each other.
Yan, thank you po. Ayan, sabi niya, ay mali pala yung biology, hindi pala kasama yung biology. Tama ba? Hindi kasama. Ayan, so,
Anatomy, biology kasama. Kasama yun.
ayan, so,
I'm
yun,
analyzing both of you, yung inyong mga tinype dito. Who do you think among you would be more effective to join a particular group of people? Perhaps merging yourself into a group project, or perhaps a group work. Anyone could answer. But in lang to, pero ikaw ang presenter. Who would normally be encouraged to work in a group? Kasi normally ang isang estudyante hindi agad-agad yan eh. So merong tension. So the way parang pareho kayo mahihain dito. Yun ang basa ko dyan. Pero hindi naman siguro. Yan, because Jerry Lee has a hobbies in reading, listening. So more on individualized hobby. While the hobby of Micaela is animal lover, sports, watching film. Parang individualized din to eh. Kasi pwede namang merong individual sports, di ba? And kung animal lover, hindi naman pwedeng grupo yun eh. It's more on individualized also. So I'm thinking both of you has this homogeneity as far as are your reaction to group. Do you have hard time mingling yourself to a group? Jerry, what can you say? Oh, not necessary.
di naman po, sir, kasi there are, ayun po, nasanay lang din po siguro nung, kasi po
Because of the church. Sa church, yes.
Yes, isa na po yun.
Maganda talagang training ng church eh. Lalo na sa fellowship, yan. Yung tayo mga Baptist, fellowship talaga eh. How about you, Micaela? What can you say?
Medyo nahirapan lang po kapag magkaiba po ng hilig, parang ganun.
Okay.
Or,
Micaela may.
yun po. Pero pag may similarities po kami sa mga yung interest po, ganun.
Yes. So at least merong connecting points o may tinatawag tayo dyan na common ground. So if you could have established common ground, so you could always work as a group or a team.
Pero po kung sa mga seat works po or projects, I'd prefer working alone po or two people, ganun po. Pero flexible din naman po sa akong group. Pero kung may choice po, mas gusto ko pong mag-isa or dalawa lang po kami, ganun.
How about you, Jerry Lee?
Sa akin po, group po kasi may
group.
mga more in group. Yes,
that's
kasi
why now the evidence is clear, no? For math majors, it's more individualized. For language, more on communicative kasi kayo eh. So pwedeng doon yung may connection eh. Yung language is your communication tool eh. So mas may potential for group or teamwork. Unlike us, including myself, math major, yan, talagang may inclination towards individualized learning. But we don't want to mingle in the group. No, sabi nga ni Micaela, if there is an option, he would be working individually or independently. Or perhaps one or two compared to working on a group. Okay, those are my observations. I'm playing as a mere audience to the presentation. Okay, go ahead, Jerry Lee.
Yes, well, so ayan, I hope we have learned something about our differences and our similarities and have sort of like get to know each other gamit tong activity, short activity natin.
Yeah.
And now let's proceed to the next slide poster. And so following our activity, we might think about these questions, explore these questions. In what ways are you and your classmate or classmates similar? Since there's only two of us, so yan, in what ways are we similar and in what ways are we different? So we have already answered those questions kanina.
Yes.
And this one naman, yung third question natin, siguro this will be like ano na lang, reflective na lang na question, not no need to answer it ngayon. Yung are you glad to have differences or similarities sa classmate mo, or syempre to other people also, but we have to focus more on our classmates dahil yung ating topic is about the classroom and
Yeah.
student diversity. And yan, sabi dito, explain your answer, but not really, just ano na lang, answer it on your own.
Okay.
So next slide po, sir. So we'll go to the factors that bring about diversity. So this is one, this is first of the three subtopics that we have about student diversity. So first factor is socioeconomic status. So the millionaire's lifestyle, it says here, differs from the middle income or lower income group. So we have noticed that in schools, syempre in schools, in the community first, and then in schools, there are different social classes of students. May students na from a well-off family, merong students naman na coming from a lower income na household. So we have to consider that too. And me growing up, I didn't come from a well-off family. Yung medyo, let's say, yung term nga sa Tagalog, di ba, mahirap kami, lalo na nung public, nung nag-school pa ako ng elementary, but now medyo okay naman sa biyaya ng Panginoon na sustain naman. So yan, yung socio-economic status ng ating students, of course, it will surely differ from magba-vary siya from one person to another. So, ayun nga sabi dito, yung lifestyle ng isang millionaire is going to be different from those of the lower income group. So, when it comes to our students, may mga students na, let's say, hindi nila kayang bumili ng, for example, we have a project and we require them to buy something. We cannot expect our students to, lahat sila kaya nilang bumili ng kahit simple lang na gadget, di ba, for learning. We cannot expect that. So, ayan, we have to like keep in mind this one factor, which is socioeconomic status. Number two is the thinking or learning style. So some of you learn better by seeing something. I don't know kung what kind of learner si Ma'am Micaela, but ano, 'di ba, we're aware naman that there are different types of learners. May iba-iba tayo ding learning styles. So, yun nga, may visual learner, those who learn by seeing something, and others who learn by listening. Ayan. And there are also others who learn by manipulating something. Yung we will learn more about this module 5. I don't know who's the reporter for that, pero ayan, we will learn more about this topic sa module 5. And then we also have the last factor, which is exceptionalities. Yan. In class, there may be one who has difficulty in spoken language comprehension or in seeing, hearing, etc. I think these are people who belong to like special, I think these are special students or special children, meron silang let's say merong difficulty in something like hearing, or in probably there are some who are visually impaired. So we also have to keep that in mind if our students are, ayan, we have also discussed this before sa mga previous na mga courses namin, which
Right.
Mika is also a part of, na we have to know if our students are, they have special needs. So as as advisor or as teacher, we have to be aware and really mindful that there are going to be students na meron silang special needs and their parents might not be aware of that. So
Yes.
as teachers, we are like the first, maybe the second to uh, parang observe yung students kung meron bang something na different sa kanila, and we could talk to their parents about it. We cannot directly say na someone is parang meron siyang autism or other like ADHD, let's say. We cannot definitely like say na agad without a diagnosis, 'di ba? So we have to be ayon really careful then when it comes to exceptionalities ng ating students. And ayan, so yeah, so next slide po, sir. And so diversity is something that we should see more of, like a benefit in our learning environment or in our classroom. So we have to view diversity in a different light, na although differences might be like a hindrance sometimes, kasi when people don't um jibe along dahil nga sa magkakaibang personality, let's say, and different interests, medyo nagkakaroon ng conflict. But we should know that it also has a benefit, and here we will enumerate all those four. Well, four lang po yung included po dun sa ating handout or sa ating book, but of course there are so many pa na iba
Yes.
na ayun po na mag na kung saan ang student diversity is seen as an enriching element sa ating classroom. Yeah. So first is student self-awareness is enhanced by diversity. So we all know that Bethany is a school, is a college, as let's say LD Woosley is a college kung saan we have different students from different countries. So situation dahil we come from different cultures, ganyan. We are aware, yung students become aware on how they should be cautious in what they do or what they say. Kasi one thing might be offensive, or might be something na nakaka um something na hindi siya maganda para sa ibang culture. So once there is diversity in the classroom, the students become aware of that, and hindi sila ignorant on that thing. Yan, so sabi dito, exposing students to others with diverse backgrounds and experiences also serve to help students focus on their awareness. When they see others are different, students are given reference points or comparative perspectives, which sharpen assessment of attitudes, values, and behaviors. Yan. So ang focus naman dito is when we become aware of the other people. Let's say sa amin naman ni Micaela, she has some differences from me, so I can also like compare, not in a bad way, not in a negative way, like compare myself to her, and maybe work on myself through what I see in her na pwede maging beneficial sa akin. So diversity doesn't have to be a bad thing. It can be like connect with another and how we could improve ourselves as well. And so if you might have anything po to add on it, sir.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Okay. Okay. Okay po. So yeah, next is student diversity to cognitive development. And so the opportunity to the perspectives of peers and to learn from the other students rather than the instructor only may be especially important for promoting the cognitive development of learners. So the fact that we could communicate with other people sa ating classroom, then we could have like an exchange of ideas. And in that way, we could develop our cognition. We could have like a cognitive development. And so next is student diversity prepares learners for their role as responsible members of the society. And so Suzanne Mort stresses one competency that has strong implications for instructional strategies that capitalize on diversity. And the classroom can provide more than just one theory given by the teacher in a lecture. With students' diversity, the classroom becomes a public place where community can be practiced. Yeah. So because of our diversity, we could try to adapt sa ibang tao. We we become flexible when it comes to, let's say, compromise. Kapag ang isang tao may different culture, we will adjust ourselves dun sa culture nila. And when it comes to our classmates naman, because ako din may experience din ako syempre sa mga foreigner na classmate. Yun nga, they have syempre may difference sila sa culture nila sa kanilang sariling country, and sa Philippines they have observed some differences, and with that we could adjust ourselves based sa kanilang culture then, or sila naman vice versa, sila naman mag-a-adjust sa ating culture dito sa Pilipinas since sila yung mga foreigners. So in that way we become responsible members of society, um in a sense that we we try to adapt to other people so that magkakaroon tayo ng understanding at makakasundo natin sila. So um last last one is student diversity can promote harmony. So when student diversity is integrated into the classroom teaching and learning process, it can become a vehicle for promoting harmonious race relations. Through student-centered teaching strategies, diverse students can be encouraged to interact and collaborate with one another on learning tasks that emphasize unity of effort while capitalizing on their diversity of backgrounds. And those students may come from different backgrounds. It's not impossible to work on a group, yeah, in a group, I mean. So I think si Micaela din naman has her own experiences with other people from different cultures, from different backgrounds, and working with them. And you know that it's not impossible to work with them. There are times nga that it is easier to work with these people from a different background than those na kasi mo ng culture, because they are really trying to understand. They have that effort to parang go out of their comfort zone para magkaroon ng harmony. So ako naman, my experience with that is I dati nung before the pandemic, I had experience to work with my Vietnamese classmates and Cambodian classmates, and they were so easy to work with dahil talagang they are very helpful, and there are times that they are the ones na talagang nag-i-initiate pa, nagko-communicate sa akin about our task, ganyan. So, student diversity yan, yan sabi nga, can promote harmony. So, yan po. Yeah, let's proceed to next slide po, sir. Ayan, we have 9 tips and strategies in the classroom that we could use when it comes to student diversity. So first is we, as teachers, we could encourage learners to share their personal history and experiences. So this is one thing that we could use para mas maging aware din tayo sa iba't ibang experience ng ating students. And in a way, this could also be like an icebreaker para hindi ganon na masyadong, let's say, may barrier sa bawat isa. So once we begin to get to know someone, their history and their experiences, nakaka-relate tayo doon, and we also become more comfortable with another person. So, ayan, students will be made to realize that they have something in common with the rest, and they also differ in several ways. So, yan, with ang main goal lang nitong first strategy natin is to help students identify their differences and those things that they have in common, which is very good kasi ito yung pinaka magiging parang magbi-bridge sa bawat students natin para magkaroon sila ng, ayun nga, getting to know. And maybe they could work together more efficiently kapag kilala nila ang isa't isa, their own experiences, and let's say, yun nga, yung history din nila. So next is integrate learning experiences and activities which promote students' multicultural and cross-cultural awareness. And so you can encourage or even initiate co-curricular experiences that are aimed at promoting diversity awareness. These activities could be held to coincide with already scheduled national weeks, Disability Awareness Week, Linggo ng Wika, Indigenous Peoples Week, etc. So, ayan, we could also yan mag-celebrate ng mga occasions or ayan, learning experiences that show the different cultures. I think syempre in our school we have linggo. I think it's just a day kasi Wednesday, di ba? Araw ng wika kasi ayan, we don't celebrate naman talaga in a month. Let's be ano na lang, realistic about it, di ba? At least we have a time to revisit our language, which is Filipino. And other people also, we could like create a culture friendly environment for our students by also celebrating or recognizing their culture, just in case we have students from other countries. So yun nga, yung mga binigay dito na examples is this Linggo ng Wika, Disability Awareness Week, Indigenous Peoples Week, and others. Ayan. You could also like create your own program para ma-recognize yung iba-iba ding cultures ng inyong students. Of course, as teachers naman, we have to be creative about our curricular or co-curricular activities. So, it's always up to us kung ano yung parang program na ating i-held and for our students. And third is, aside from highlighting diversity, identify patterns of unity that transcends group differences. So, Clyde Cochrane, an early American anthropologist who spent a lifetime studying human diversity across different cultures, concluded from his extensive research that every human is at the same time like all other humans, like some humans and like no other humans. And his observation suggests a paradox in the human experience, namely, we are all the same in different ways. It may be important to point out to students that biological reality that we human beings share approximately 95% of our genes in common, and that less than 5% of our genes account for the physical differences that exist among us. So parang sinasabi lang dito that we are almost the same with everybody except that we have different physical appearances, or nagkakaiba lang tayo sa ating mga looks. Parang yun yung gusto iparating ni Clyde Clockham. Ayan. So here are the things that you could do regarding yung ating third classroom strategy. You could place students in homogeneous groups on the basis of shared demographic characteristics, let's say same gender groups or same race or ethnicity groups, because this could help them to be more at ease. Or kasi 'di ba when you're working together with people na ka-culture or nag-share kayo ng same na, let's say, background, parang there's a sense of belongingness sa student na this is where I fit in. So you could do that um for for highlighting also their diversity, yung pagkakaiba ng mga students mo in a classroom. And you could also, pwede namang same gender, boys and girls, magkahiwalay sila. Yung girls lang dun sa other side and then boys sa other side. Which you will make just to show yung differences ng students, but not necessarily to create a division sa iyong classroom. Yan. And also, you could try to form groups of students who are different with respect to one demographic characteristic, but similar with respect to another. Like, for example, similar gender, but different when it comes to race or ethnicity. Pwedeng someone came from, uh, let's say, Filipino tapos Vietnamese. You could also do that na magkasama sila sa isang group but they have the same gender. Yan. And then you could also have students, like after students have completed self-assessment instruments like learning style inventories or personal profiles, have them line up or move to a corner of a room according to their individual scores or overall profile. So you could also create, like, have them answer a personal profile just so you know kung sino yung mga may similarities, kung sino yung mga may differences, and then group them together. Okay, so we'll go to number 4, which is communicate high expectations to students from all subgroups. And make a conscious attempt to call on or draw in students from diverse groups by using effective questioning techniques that reliably elicit student involvement. In addition to consciously calling on them in class, other strategies for drawing in and involving students include assigning them the role of reporter in small group discussions, the one who reports back the group's ideas to the class, and having them engage in peer discussions with another classmate with the stipulation that each partner must take turns assuming the role of both listeners. Yan. So we could also put them in small groups, like halos halos same lang din naman. We always have to put them in small groups to where they share some common things with. Pagsasama-samahin natin yung students that have the same cultural backgrounds or probably same gender. Pero dito naman we have to ask them to group to form a small group and then have them work together so that they could form like a teamwork with one another. And so next is use varied instructional methods to accommodate student diversity in learning styles. And so diversify the sensory or perceptual modalities through which you deliver and present information. For example, orally or in print. So you could um pwedeng pwedeng mag-teach ng pag ganito na ayan kausap directly yung estudyante, pwede din namang um, naka-print yung lessons. So it's really depending on you, but we have to make use of different strategies that we cannot just stay na gamit yung iisa lang na method of teaching. And so it's really good to be innovative, especially kapag yung students natin are from different backgrounds, and because ayun nga, they could have different learning styles na maybe yung pagiging visual is not always working sa lahat ng students. So that's when we have to think of other things, other methodologies of teaching so that we could cater to all our students, to all of their needs. Ayan, hindi lang yung pang isang student lang. So next is diversify the instructional formats or procedure you use in class. Use formats that are student-centered, like class discussion, small group work, and teacher-centered, like lectures and demonstrations. You could also use formats that are unstructured, trial and error discovery learning, and structured step-by-step instruction. And thus is use procedures that involve both independent learning, like independently completed tasks or projects, and individual presentations. And so here are some things that you could use in under our fifth classroom strategy on student diversity. Next slide, po, sir. Thank you. And so next is vary the examples you use to illustrate concepts in order to provide multiple contexts that are relevant to students from diverse backgrounds. Yan. So if our students don't come from a single culture, of course we would expect that there are times that we wouldn't be able to relate if our examples are for Filipinos lang, for example. For instance, so some foreigners might not be able to catch up, so hindi nila ganun maiintindihan kung all the examples that we give are only based on our culture. So that's when there are some minimal problems. Kaya it is important to provide multiple contexts na applicable din sa ibang culture or ibang background. So you could use these examples, like you will have students complete personal information cards. These are activities lang naman that they provided for teachers, but of course meron na tayong iba't ibang platforms ngayon, lalo na dahil we have technology. So I think a flashcard or yun nga information cards might not be applicable anymore dahil usually din naman is online classes na lang. So but they have here some examples that you could use, like you can provide students a card which they can fill in para i-answer as their personal profile, which also includes their personal interests and life experiences. And you could also use ideas, comments, and questions that students raise in class or which they choose to write about to help you think of examples and illustrations. And asks students to provide their own examples of concepts based on experiences drawn from their personal lives. So here are some suggestions about the this six strategies that how you could provide multiple concepts for your students who come from different cultures or backgrounds. And so number 7 is adapt to the students' diverse backgrounds and learning styles by allowing them personal choice and decision making opportunities concerning what they will learn and how they will learn it. So, and getting the learner giving the learner more decision making opportunity with respect to learning tasks, promote positive student attitudes toward the subject matter, fosters more positive interactions among students, and results in students working more consistently with lesser teacher intervention. Also, when individuals are allowed to exert some control over a task, they tend to experience less anxiety or stress while performing the task. And, and number 8, diversify your methods of assessing and evaluating student learning. So you can accommodate student diversity not only by varying what you do with your teaching, but also by varying what you ask students to do to demonstrate learning. In addition to the traditional paper and pencil tests and written assessments, students can demonstrate their learning in a variety of performance formats, such as individually delivered oral reports, panel presentations, group projects, visual presentations like concept maps, slide presentations, or PowerPoint presentations, and in a form of drama, like they could present a live or a videotape performance. And yeah, last is number 9 is pur- purposely form small discussion groups of students from diverse backgrounds. You can form groups of students with different learning styles, different cultures, and so on. So small peer learning groups may be effective by for promoting student progress to a more advanced stage of cognitive development. Peer learning groups may promote this cognitive advancement because the instructor is removed from stage, thereby reducing the likelihood that the teacher is perceived as the ultimate or absolute authority, and students are exposed to the perspectives of other students, thus increasing their appreciation of multiple viewpoints and different approaches to learning. So, um, this one naman is about um, having a small group like forum para mag-ask yung students or to have like a sharing of their backgrounds, and then yung teacher he or she will just facilitate while all the others are having a small talk about their their history and their cultures, and in that way they could appreciate the different viewpoints and different approaches to learning. So it's not just about diversity is not just about their culture, but it could also be about their learning style. So it's important to take note of that as well. So next slide po. And so to wrap up our my report, we have discussed about the three factors that bring about student diversity, which includes socioeconomic status and thinking or learning styles of the student, and their exceptionalities. And number two, we have discussed diversity, student diversity as an enriching element in the learning environment or sa classroom. So we see it more as a benefit than a hindrance for learning or to working together harmoniously. And lastly, we have provided the 9 tips and strategies for student diversity that you could use in the classroom and in the future as a teacher. And so that's all, sir. Thanks for listening.
Okay, so a round of applause to our speaker, Miss Jerry Lee. Thank you. Thank you for this substantial presentation. No? So maybe Micaela would like to ask something to our speaker.
Ano lang po siguro, dun po sa factors that bring about student diversity. So, hindi lang po siya yung confined dun sa 3 that was discussed, that was mentioned in the slides po.
Yes, yes.
So, included po sa factors that bring about diversity is yung ethnicity po niya. Tama po ba? Since it was often mentioned po about having classmates that are from other countries. So, does it mean, ito po yung factors po na it is not really confined to the 3 po that was mentioned in the slides po.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
Jerry, may add?
That's true. Yung tatlo na yon, parang yun yung pinaka-breakdown ng factors na which makes our students diverse. But of course, yun nga, yung nationality nila is kasama yon. Actually, it's one of the main factors that makes us diverse. Pero siguro hindi lang siya kasama dun sa mismong enumeration dun sa slide natin. But tama po. Thank you for raising that concern, that information. Actually, ewan ko din ba't di siya kasama. Ayun po.
Okay. So, kasi parang overarching siya eh. Overarching yung, kung tutusin yung ethnicity, it will be, para siyang overarching doon sa, it could also be related to, not exclusively to socioeconomic status, that's one. And then the thinking and learning style and exceptionalities. Though it has encompassing factor, actually, encompassing factors. Kaya perhaps the author have not included that part of the biodiversity, but that is assumed as encompassing. So tama yung ni observation ni Micaela. And perhaps, what do you think would be the kumbaga yung slip of my mind, nakalimutan ko. What will be the, how to break the ice of this diversity? Ayan, na-discuss dyan yung mga tips or strategizing for student diversity. And of course, diversity need to be appreciated. It's not something that is negative, even to the school culture, environment, or outlook. But it should drive us positively to a learning environment. It should motivate us in the learning process. At of course, another observation that we could always break the barriers of this diversity through, of course, as Christian educator, yung gospel. The gospel message would always break the barriers. If we may have the barrier of diversity as far as socioeconomic status, perhaps, we could see how Paul preach in different socioeconomic status, even perhaps telling those who are Lord over those slaves that they become that they treat well of their brothers and sisters in Christ who are their slave. At the same time, those slaves, in motivation to serving their Lord, is their service to God Himself. No? So these are equalizing factor. No, I would suggest, as Christian educator, we must also involve ourselves in this venture of embarking into the gospel, because this will be really break diversities and barriers, no? As far, so pansinin niyo, pag in terms of the gospel, yung socioeconomic status nawawala dapat yan. Na walang mayaman, walang mahirap sa church, na walang mayaman, mahirap sa gawain. So pantay-pantay tayo. No? At the same time, in terms of thinking and learning style, no? If we have the mind of Christ as Christians, so we will progress on unity in our church. No? Though we may have diversity of gifts, no? May diversity of gifts, iba-ibang kaloob sa church. Makikita natin kung tayo ay patungo doon sa kaisipan ni Kristo, be of the same mind of Christ, which is humble service, humility. So I don't think thinking and learning style would be a hindrance to unity, but more on appreciation more of these diversities, and it will provide harmonization. Good point yun, yung it will provide harmony and unity on the context of the church ministry as well. Kasi I'm looking at this perspective as a Christian educator. At the same time, exceptionalities, yes, there are exemptions. Some are high IQ, no, perhaps highly cognitive or engaged students. Some have some psychosocial difficulties. There are students like that. So it's a good point also of the speaker that there must be sensitivities as far as knowing the needs, the special needs of our students, primarily for basic education. So bakit hindi niya kaya ako maunawaan? Yung pala may problema sa tenga, hindi makapakinig ng gusto. No, bakit kaya may problema sa tenga? Resulta pala siya ng poor hygiene sa kanila. So may maraming dahilan. No? It's not just psychosocial, it could be physical. Kaya nagkakaroon ng mga differences, no? In terms of comprehension, yan, nakalagay dyan, hearing, no? Hindi lang naman to neurological or psychosocial reasons, but could be physical also. And as teachers, we must be aware of that. Exceptionalities. But of course, my point is that as Christian educator, our common ground, and that would break the ice as far as this the supposed barriers is concerned, is the gospel of Christ. That's the only common ground that we could impart as Christian educator, whether that be rich or poor or middle class or perhaps different learning and thinking style of the student. So the gospel message will transcend all of these diversities. As far as so dapat yan matutunan natin by God's grace, ma-incorporate itong mga to sa ating pagtuturo. But of course, we are utilizing this educational process, teaching process for the sake of the gospel as Christian educator. That would be our mandate. Lalo na kapag may mga school ministry sa church natin, napakagandang oportunidad diyan. At of course, sa public school naman, we don't use our time in teaching for evangelizing. No, that's not supposed to be the case. But perhaps it could be an opportunity where we could have a separate time of Bible study. Some of us are doing some Bible or campus ministry, no? Even in the basic education. That's a good because we are actually breaking the barriers, no? We're actually kumbaga ito yung nagiging common ground na natin, no? Hindi na yung mayaman mahirap. So pero yan ang reality ng tao. Pag wala kay Kristo ang isang estudyante, it matters yung socioeconomic status niya. Kasi yung isang mayaman, inutusan ng Panginoon, lalo na sa panahon ni Timoteo, sulat ni Timoteo kay Pablo, na kayong mayayaman, dapat kayo ang maraming ginagawa sa church. Bakit? Kasi kayo yung may resources, kayo yung merong kakayahan na magkaloob sa church. So ang inaasahan, yung mayayaman, magkaroon din ng kumbaga malasakit sa church. So sa ganung yugto nagkakaroon ng pagkakapantay-pantay sa mga sa konteksto ng komunidad ng mga mag-aaral, no? Ay wala nang mayaman-maya because of the gospel. And of course, yung thinking learning style natin geared towards Christ-likeness, the mind of Christ. And then of course, yung exceptionalities by God's grace, yan din ay nakikita rin natin na hindi hadlang upang matuto yung mga estudyante. So these are good points. Of course, yung point na student self-awareness is enhanced by diversity. So knowing the fact that we're different, we have differences and similarities one to another, it's a pivotal point or a spark plug for teaching or for learning on the learning process, no? Yung self-awareness. Mahalagang motivation yan na tayo magpursige. Ay, may pagkakaiba pero may pagkakatulad din kami. So ibig sabihin may awareness ka na doon sa inyong pagkatuto, no, on the context of learning. So we could use diversity positively as a reinforcement, a positive reinforcement for learning process. And definitely number 2 is correct, that student diversity contributes cognitive development. Kasi awareness per se is already cognition. No, awareness is will bring to some thinking process on how to ways and means where we could adapt to this diversity. That's already part of the cognitive development. And of course, eventually, no, on a larger scale, number 3 is more on the responsible members of the society. Yung diversity niyang gagamitin natin because if we are diverse, we have skill sets that are not similar to others. And we could see ourselves as utilizing this skill set, no, to contribute to the development of our community. So may kita natin yung larger scale nito, that learners become more responsible on maximizing their diversity to become responsible citizen of the society. And then of course, it promotes harmony, knowing diversity. We have unity in diversity. That's a concept of the church. No, we have diverse gifts, but we have this union in Christ. So our relationship is grounded in Christ. No, we have been united in Christ. No, so yun yung for Christian perspective. But of course, for non-Christians, it may not be appreciated because most their approach to unity is material and physical rather than spiritual and eternal. Okay, so I'm just giving this Christian education perspective. And of course, these tips are varied. We may apply some, but not all. No, all tips. These are tips, no, given by the author. They're expert educators, Dr. Corpus, and is one educator that that's actually had been experienced for more than 40 years of teaching, no? So as well as Dr. Lucas as well. So they have shared to us some expertise on how to enhance or to have a positive approach on student diversity. So diversity is never a negative effect. Does not have any negative effect for that matter for the student, but it should be considered positive for the growth and development of our students or pupils. So some had been elaborated here, no? So I appreciate that. Then kasi we could just select a few, no, not necessarily maximizing the 9 because yung kanyang context, no, we could apply this on our context, no, perhaps we could adapt few 1, 2, 3 methodologies or tips, no, combining, and then we have also our own probable methodologies as teachers, as you becoming professional teachers now as a pre-service teacher. So eventually you will have your own methodologies also on how to approach student diversity in your respective class. Okay? So again, congratulations, Jerry Lee, for that wonderful presentation. Evaluation will pop up on our classroom this afternoon or perhaps tomorrow morning. And then the soonest time your viewers or even yourself, you could have self-evaluation of yourself, Jerry Lee. I'll be providing the result to you directly, no? Perhaps through your email, no? For your self improvement also, no? So ganun din yung gagawin natin kay Micaela sa kay Emma. Alright, and then perhaps the awarding of certificate will be next week na lang kasi kinapos na ako ng oras, though I have a template. So I'm still thinking who will be the signatory. Perhaps I will ask the office if there will be some officials from Bethany that could also put their signature on the certificate. Perhaps if not Dr. Nable or Pastor Nable, who is our president, perhaps one of the dean or the head of our department. So whichever is more appropriate, I'll be asking this afternoon to Ma'am Arnie, whoever it is, and we will attach their signatures on your certificate. That will be part of your portfolio when you are about to enter your professional practice as teacher. Okay? Thank you so much. We're a little bit over time. No, I hope this had been a meaningful experience to us. Thank you, Jerry Lee, for this presentation. Yan. Mahina talaga ako dito. Na-appreciate ko yung mga estudyante ngayon, yung mga ganyang klase ng mga slide, yung mga yung mga ganito, no. So diyan ako mahina. No, ako very plain. Pansinin niyo yung presentation ko, Word document pa to. Ayan, napaka-plain. So hindi ako mahilig sa ganyan, no. But I really appreciate students. I'm exposed to more artistic way of presenting things, no. So kasi kami mga math major talagang no, simple lang, no, Micaela. Hindi tayo yung artistry naman na express natin yan sa creativeness na express sa ibang bagay. All right. So I will continue again on this psychological principle, no. We're done with cognitive, metacognitive, then by next week we'll have motivational affective, no. Baka tapusin ko na yan, and then I will also bawat week meron akong i-lecture din sa inyo na hindi na naituro because hindi na ma-report yan because actually 3 of our students including Ira, the 3 of them have been moved for the next class. So ako nang magpipil in doon. So aside from that, you will have your yung assignment natin, tuloy pa rin yung ating mga reflective summary for the presentation. The presenter is exempted in writing her own reflective summary. Only the audience, the participants will be doing the reflective summary. Plus, I give additional requirement for you since there are few presentations. You will do 2 periodic presentation based on the book instead of just 1. Diba you have your EPUB? Have you downloaded that, Jerry Lee?
Yes po, sir.
So instead of just 1 per period, 1 per prelim, midterm, final, you will be doing 2 reflective summary per period to compensate to the other presentations. No, pipili na lang kayo ng dalawa of 2 topics of your choice per period. Okay na sa akin 'yon. And then presentations, and then periodic exam. No, I will be as much possible that will be a look-alike let exam, yung inyong online test. Okay? So yun yung ating, and then I think next week will be Emma. Nagpaalam niya sa akin, no? So hindi talaga, he's now at Bicol. Medyo poor connection doon, so he cannot connect to us. Nevertheless, I told him to just catch up on our recorded session. Okay? So thank you once again, Jerry Lee, for the presentation, and thank you, Micaela, for your participation. Ayan, so dalawa lang kayo, pero bukas medyo magulo to dahil dami nila. Ayan, iba-ibang culture, varying, no? Iba-ibang background. Totoo yung sinasabi natin, reality niya nasa classroom talaga kahit online class. No? And also, may God give us wisdom on how to, in a way, to reinforce diversity so that it will have its positive impact to our classroom. Okay? So I thank you guys for this time. I know your kumakalam na ang inyong chan. Okay lang yan. So nag-overtime tayo ng konti dahil talagang squeeze yung schedule ko immediately after the solid geometry. I need to pause for a while, just few minutes, and then I'll broadcast on our class. No? So medyo ipit yung schedule at kaya ganyan. So nevertheless, thank you guys for your patience. Really appreciate that. Jerry Lee and Michaela and Emma would be joining us next week. Okay? So, are there clarification from the two of you? There are clarification that you would like to ask? So, yung wag nating kalimutan, yung ating yung gospel as an important ways where it will transcends the diversities of socioeconomic status, the diversities of learning thinking styles, no? Those factors, and also the exceptionalities. So the gospel is powerful to transcend that. So as Christian educators, we are bearing witness to them. We should be ready, balancing our boldness and compassion to our students. So because we cannot just assume students are saved, even if they're enrolled into a Christian school or a church school ministry. So we cannot assume that. We should invite them. We should challenge them. No, as far as the gospel message is concerned, if there are provided opportunities for us to do so. Okay? So let's close in a word of prayer. Father in heaven, we thank you for this day. Thank you for this opportunity where we could have our first presentation through Miss Jerry Lee. Thank you for the much creativity that we have seen in the presentation. And though it's brief, it has also its details, Lord, that we may learn from it. And thank you also for Michaela, who had been our participant on the presentation. I pray, Lord, that you may continually give us a discernment, even applying this in our context, ways and means where we could improve or we could address diversity on our class. So help us, Lord, by your grace, that we may continue to be faithful to our Christian mandate, particularly the gospel. And of course, the calling to teach our people, to inspire them, to motivate them so that they may continue growing in faith as well. We thank you, Lord, glorify your name, bless even our lunch together in our respective homes, and continually guide us, provide us blessing as we are to worship you in your Lord's Day. Prepare our hearts, Lord, for our ministries in the church. This is our prayer in Christ's name. Amen. So thank you, guys. See you next week. God bless you.
See you po. Thank you po, sir.
Okay, bye-bye. God bless.